Welcome to this episode of The Lie of the Land. It's Scalloway we're wandering through this time in the company of Jenna Reid. A Corflass, Jenna is one of Shetland's best known fiddle players, one of Scotland's best known fiddle players, starting out with family band Filska in the 1990s and winning great acclaim as a solo musician. In 2010, her and her sister Bethany wrote the album Escape, which tells the story of Norwegian hero Jan Balsrud, a resistance fighter who was part of the Shetland bus mission to sabotage the Nazi occupation of Norway. Where better to start then than the one-time HQ of the Shetland bus, Norway House, at the water's edge in Scalloway.
Gosh, it's the first time I came here I was tiny, I was really young, and it's always maintained its sort of stature and it looks stunning, the kind of half concrete and half corrugated iron, beautiful red colour, which just is obviously reminiscent of the beautiful wooden houses in Norway, so it fits in beautiful in Scalloway. The houses are so many colourful painted houses, and
it's looking very boring at the moment. Yeah. For those that don't know, the connection of Norway House and the Shetland bus.
Well, yeah, my sister and I, Bethany, we put together a suite of music 10 years ago now, and all about the Shetland bus, which were the nighttime sailings between Shetland and Norway that was occupied at the time during World War II. And to start with, Scalloway was the base for the Shetland bus and where boats left from to travel to the west coast of Norway, but it's subsequently moved to Luna House near Vidlin. So
yeah, you wouldn't know it looking now, Norway House, like it's occupied by a gym.
I know.
And
I couldn't believe
so you hear a lot of loud clunking noises coming from there. Yeah, and there's nothing I don't think there's a plaque or anything to say on it.
No, I haven't
We'll
spotted
maybe walk
one.
past.
There's, its name is on the side, and it's obviously, when you look it up, it's described as an old sail loft.
Which now houses the cardio equipment.
Wow.
Why did you decide to do that, and what particularly grabbed you about the man whose story you told through that music?
It was my sister's idea to start with, Bethany. We've worked together a lot over the years, obviously, writing music together and playing music together, and she had read a book called We Die Alone that was written kind of all about Jan Balsrud, the guy that we ended up writing about, and it was a story that just really inspired her, and we got talking about it, and we don't know a lot about this story, and maybe other folk our generation don't either. The most I knew about it was playing a tune called the Shetland Bus at the Shetland Fiddler Society, and I had vague bits of information, but we were both pretty astounded by what you read in that book, which is hard to get hold of now, but it's a tiny thin book, and Beth read that and passed it on to me, and we just sort of put together the idea of bringing that story back to the present day, and set about writing about an hour's music and invited our friends to play it with us. So it's
maybe speak a bit more about it. Just now we're at the Prince Olaf Slipway. You can hear the Radio 2 coming for the Malakoff Slip for fixing up a boat.
It looks great.
And there is plaques here actually, isn't there?
Yeah, so this is in memory of Leif Anders Shetlands Larsson, as he was known, and all concerned with the Shetland bus, unveiled by his daughter Astrid on the 3rd of August 1991. So it would have been amazing to be here. I was in high school on those days, so I wasn't really aware of that happening as a 11-year-old. Maybe I had to wait a few years to become interested in.
Have you been to Norway yourself?
Yeah, lots of times. So we went on family holidays when the Bergen the Nerona used to come in, and we would go on it. You'd get on at midnight and get off at 8 in the morning. And
I mind, yeah.
Yeah, and we had brilliant times. Mum and Dad filled the car with as much food as it could carry, because everything's so expensive over there. So we would camp and go in the hyttas, I think they call the wooden houses. And then I've subsequently been to play at different folk festivals in Farsund, and in fact most of the times that I've been there since then has been with the Shetland bus. We played in the island of Sutra, which is close to Bergen, and it's the North Sea Traffic Museum is there, and we launched we did a launch concert in Norway of the Shetland bus and played in the museum, which looks over the town of Televog, which was completely decimated during World War II. It's an amazing place. The situation of the museum in Televog is, you can look out of these sort of full-length windows over the town and the water, and it was exactly where boats came in and bombs were set off, and all of the information is there, and it's quite a place. And I had made contact with Jan Balserud's nephew, who's called Niels Ola Balserud, and I mean, the only way I could think of doing it was just to phone him. So I can remember the phone call. You know, he must have thought, who on earth's this? But I tried to explain what we were trying to do and that we were coming to Norway and could we meet him. And he came to the concert, and it was amazing to meet him. And he was so proud of his uncle's story and was touched that we had set about playing the music and writing it and telling his story again.
We're just at the Shetland Bus Memorial here, and I see there's a wreath, and one of them says handwritten Defence Attaché, Royal Norwegian Embassy, London.
Wow.
Just all these wee connections. It's a lovely memorial actually, with the boat on top.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Just showing like the piri boats and the big seas that they would have been in.
I know, you would almost miss it driving past, because the cairn of stones that is a circular statue with the wee boat on the top, which, as you say, looks quite fairly insignificant, but it's a beautiful, almost a work of art. You know, all the detail is there, and the sails and the rigging and all sorts, and looking quite alone there on a huge wave, the way that it's been presented. But that, as you say, that's exactly what would have happened and what they would have been up against. And whilst we were in Norway for the last visit, we went to Bergen to play. We were invited down to Bergen's harbour, and various members of their navy were there to do a similar thing, lay wreaths, and a few speeches were made, and keeps on being told and retold as it should be.
As it should. And retold through music, as you did with the album.
Yeah, it was amazing. That we first did it in Celtic Connections in 2010 or 2011, I can't quite remember. And there was visitors from Norway that came over especially to listen. And then there was a fleet of boats that came here into Scalloway a couple of years ago now, maybe longer, and we all met in the Scalloway Hotel and played music, and we had a concert in the Scalloway Hall, and that was part of the kind of process of us going back over to Bergen to play for the mayor and the different folks there.
The story that you tell as well in the album is so, I mean, it's just so extreme and extraordinary that he managed to live. You know, there's so many points. It's Phil Goodwood telling the story.
Day melted into day, spent Dublin back, leaving false trails, taking steps through miles of flat, unbroken void towards neutral Sweden. Jan marched for as long as 28 hours, without rest, through squalls of snow, struggling across shining ribbons of fjords and our vast peaks. Sometimes he would see the torchlight of German search parties shimmering on far-off fells and tundra. Along the way he met kindly fishermen, farmers and housewives, who gave him food and shelter in huts, in cowsheds, in houses. He could tell none of them where he came from, nor where he was hidden, because Jan feared for his life.
just play it through, we play it straight through, so it's not like when you go to a gig and folk clap in between the sets. And when we first started doing that, it felt really weird because we're not used to that in the music that we play. You know, you play one set and stop and chat, but it felt like it needed just to keep going, and the break is unnecessary and stops
Sort
the
of break
flow.
the spell a bit.
Yeah, and when the first few times that we did it, and we got to the very end, and it's like 60 minutes later, you're unsure if you've kept folk with you or how it's come across, and it's so kind of astounding to then have folk applaud you at the end. And I think everybody has a connection to that story in some way, don't they? Everybody has a relative that fought in World War II, or you know, has a distinct interest in the subject, hence they're there to listen, and it always feels like a bit of a pent-up energy in the room when we're finished. I think we've done about 12 concerts over the 10 years, so not a lot, but we just try to do quite kind of special concerts, you know, 3 or 4 in Norway, 3 or 4 in Shetland. Feels different to anything else that music-wise, because we're only telling somebody else's story. And part of phoning his nephew in the first place was to really get permission to go ahead and do what we were wanting to do and record it. And you know, you have to be so careful with how you present something that's not yours, really. But he was really kind and happy for us to go ahead. And I think at the time he was kind of surprised that I can call myself young, but young folk had picked up the story and were going with it and wanted to do. I think he was more like, oh, surprised in a sense, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long ago. Scalloway's not changed that much. We're looking at it much the same scene in the same waterfront, and pretty boats coming in and out just as they would have been doing at that period during the war when all this was going on. And Scalloway was so important.
Yeah. It was lovely to visit Luna House as well. We all went there, and I mean, we could only get about 40 folk in, but we had a lovely concert and everybody went home, and then we stayed for a while and had a great time with the hosts there, and it was just lovely, really special. And they've done it really well in there. They've got lovely pictures and memorials and explanations about people that were there during the time. The Hitra here, this boat, this submarine chaser, it came back here. It's been restored and whatnot, and it was here when we had that meeting in Scalloway Hotel just a few years ago, and going on board that was incredible. But yeah, having Phil kind of narrate it and fit the music around the kind of outcome of the story, and as it goes along, we went up to the Arctic Circle to play at the Northern Lights Festival, which is in Tromsø, and we played at the festival, and my husband and I, he plays in the band too, we stayed on and saw the Northern Lights, and we were taken in a car really kindly by someone to visit the house that Jan Balsrud was kept secret in, and we were shown into the hayloft where he was hiding, and there's a man in the story called Marius, and Marius hid him at an earlier point in just a shed, basically. Jan was said to have picked moss out of the cracks in the wood and made cigarettes with it. But we met Marius's daughter, quite an old lady now, but she was able to come out and tell us, and we were standing, I mean, it was the dead of winter, it was February, so there's no daylight hardly, so we were nearly pitch black standing in this fjord, and she pointed out where the fjord kind of came into a dip, and this is where the Lyngen Alps, where Jan Balsrud walked in from and headed towards this hayloft. The film tells it well as well. The film that was out in cinemas not that long ago, The 12th Man, I think it's called, and it tells it really well, and it's so brutal to see it, and obviously it's aspects of it maybe not completely accurate. The story that they portray on screen is quite incredible to watch. Just the fragility of these tiny boats and all these seamen that were just could handle it and knew what they were doing, and in some cases maybe not less so the younger ones. But
And we are kind of at this turning point, it just in terms of the length of time that it's been since these events and the number of people who are left alive who were involved. There's very, very few left. And
that's right. Yeah, there isn't at all, hardly. And I think that's why it's important to kind of keep these things going. One of the points that was made when we were over in Norway was that they were unsure that the younger generation were really interested in learning about it or supporting a concert but I mean, that's a generalisation really. I'm sure there are a lot of young folk that are well versed in what happened in Norway's role in the whole thing as well.
But yeah, it does start to become, old history.
Yeah, it does.
Rather than something that's a little bit more still alive.
Yeah, it really does. And as the years pass on, it arguably, young folk might say it's not relevant to them, or where would the level of interest be? But you would really hope that somehow it's sort of still part of basic knowledge, living here and understanding it all.
Just walking down the street in Scalloway, it's all looking very bony. The bunting is out. It's a nice sunny day and there's lots of people. We were speaking about places that have shaped you in your music, and Scalloway is a very important place for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a really small community, and that kind of, as well as Quarf where I'm from, obviously it reminds me of that small place and really tight knit community. And my dad worked here for years and years in the salmon industry, and my sister and I have done loads of concerts in the Scalloway Hall at folk festivals and accordion fiddle festivals over the years. So there's so many places in Shetland that you feel kind of a strong personal link to. But yeah, it's a gorgeous wee place, and I guess that was the crux of the story behind the Shetland bus, and coming here and also up to Vidlin as well, up to Luna House. We did this. I mean, obviously it's smaller than a hall, so we just did a tiny wee concert in there, but it's special to come back to and play and whatnot. But
can you describe these? We're just looking in the window at the, quite old now, the painted panels.
Aren't they just? Yeah, beautifully written with illustrations of different seafarers who were involved, key participants: Leif Larsson, Kjær Iversen, Palmer Bjornoy, and they're excellent paintings.
Yeah, there's a lovely map sort of showing Shetland in relation to different parts of Norway that they would have been coming from. A lovely painting of the Norway House there, and Luna House, and one of the boats at the top as well.
It's lovely actually, yeah, and you just get the scale of Norway, the painted map as well. All these tiny little inlets on the coast that these seafarers would have known like the back of their hand probably to get in and out of, and it's quite something. I wonder how many folks stop and look at this. It's a lovely thing for visitors to see and to go and to realise how it's all linked up together.
I particularly love this panel because it shows like the Scalloway waterfront, and it says "You are here." You can see the quarry in the background, and then it's got kind of pretty illustrations. So where the headquarters was, the boats repaired at the Prince Olaf Slipway that we saw, and then the photographer's hut. Fake IDs were made here.
Isn't that exciting? Isn't it? Yeah, really, really good.
And a good use for Scalloway Castle.
Ammunition store, amazing. Yeah, very unassuming, but just the part.
Never into here. See the sea. It feels like a very bustling place today, Scalloway.
It does, yeah, it's really lovely. It's such a beautiful day. The sun is so bright, but yeah, it's a lovely thing. Cornerstone Cafe around the corner is beautifully done, and it's really popular. I mean, we used to go to the Scalloway College. Did you ever go when you could have any fish? The menu was incredible.
Although I was pity, so I only wanted cod.
Well, yeah, I don't think I was very brave either, but the sea's just glistening.
Every time I've done one of these interviews, it's been the most gorgeous weather.
Is that right?
It's uncanny, actually.
Wow. That's gorgeous with the blue and red, isn't it?
So we're just looking across at is that like the artist residency? Yeah, well, the street with all the bony coloured houses just under the castle, which seems to be undergoing some serious renovations.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to take planning permission for sure. But yeah, there's this little wooden clad houses that just fit so perfectly being right on the water's edge. And Dad used to work in, that was his warehouse, the large one there at the front.
What did he do?
Worked for a Norwegian salmon feed company actually, Skretting. Retired a couple of years ago.
It's nice to see kind of the old waterfront and the piers and so on. They just look so well cared for and maintained, and while at the same time, like it's a busy working harbour and there's a lot going on here, so you can have both things.
I know, it's gorgeous. It looks a lot like the Lodberries in Lerwick, where Jimmy Perez's house is. I guess it's the most famous way to describe, the best way to describe the Lodberries. Everybody knows about the Shetland story. But yeah, it just reminds me of that, the bright colours and houses that just back right on the water.
So maybe sit down, and if you don't mind sitting on the edge of the pier.
Not at all.
Oh, I really want to go kind of like snorkelling.
I know.
Maybe not in there, that looks a bit gross. Good and lee here.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a Tyrrell fishing as well, that's great. I love watching them. Tiny dragons. Tell us a bit about like your career, your music, and how Shetland has fitted into that.
Well, I guess Shetland's where it all started, really. Learning music, playing along with other folk my age, and eventually leaving. But this is where it all started, really. The inspiration from brilliant teachers up here, and everybody's spoilt with that. Everybody that has the chance to learn any music at home, whether it's traditional fiddle or anything, there's such an abundance of amazing tuition, and for the large part of the last however many years it's been free. So you just don't get that anywhere else, not to my knowledge, and it's immediately a talking point when people ask you where you're from, and there's so many interests in Shetland, whether it's knitwear, whether it's the landscape and the birds, the nature, or fiddle music, and there's just so much to kind of learn, I think, as a musician. Still, there's so much music and songs out there that are still to be discovered, and so I feel like I'm a Shetland fiddle player, and it feels really unique, but I feel really blessed to have that, to be able to say that, because to have learnt with Willie Hunter, Margaret Robertson, Trevor Hunter, all these people, they're all doing an amazing job of instilling music in people and a love of music, and my family as well. It's a massive part of it. My mum and dad and my brother and sister. And
did they play as well?
My mum plays the piano really well, and she's brilliant at writing poetry. She just off the cuff, she would just write loads of stuff. She won a prize, the Rhoda Boulter Poetry Prize, a few years ago, and she worked as a staff nurse in the Gilbert Bay, and she was always writing for folk that were leaving, or folk that had a baby. Or
it's a really nice tradition that doesn't get done so much anymore. It's when folk would just write poetry for an occasion rather than worrying if it was good enough.
I know, that's right. And she's written some lovely songs, and so my brother and sister both play music as well. So it's all these aspects that go all together to bring you on and encourage you.
So if we did a flashback to what year would it be? You're playing in the Scalloway Hall.
Oh golly. 1990?
1990 Scalloway. Yeah. What was that like?
Can you imagine? I can't remember where the gig was. It was wasn't in the hall, it was somewhere else, and I just can't remember where it was, but it was quite a small room, and I think it was the Box and Fiddle Festival, and those were brilliant things to play at, because otherwise where do you learn your craft in performing or building up the confidence to do that? I don't know, working out how to play a gig and what you need to do and how well prepared you have to be. But Mum did that all with us. She found all the tunes for us to play and practiced with us and got us together, and great memories of getting all your stuff for these festivals at home and feeling really part of it, and alongside the folk that were visiting Shetland to play and fill up halls with good music.
you bide soothing. Do you miss that stuff?
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like there's probably other things I miss more now that I'm a lot older. I kind of miss the place as opposed to a specific gig or a night out here, as you get older it's just about being with those that you love. So being home like I am right now for quite a long spell and just being in Corf, you know. We haven't really been anywhere else. We've just stayed and made our own. Well, we've gone out to Levenwick Beach, which is, you have to do that. And there'll be other beaches on the list. But yeah, no, I think it's more about the place as a whole and the people and your family. Yeah.
Do you find you miss the landscape or the weather or things like that?
Yeah, I think I miss the quietness. I don't live in a city or anything like that. I live in a small village, and it's the nearest thing I can find that I feel really comfortable in and settled in. So my children will have a kind of similar idea of what I grew up with, and quietness and the feeling of being in a community and people knowing you, and walking along, speaking to folks, saying hello, whereas the years that I spent in a city, that it just doesn't happen. And it's grand, it fits a purpose for the time, but I don't think I could go back to it.
We're going to slightly cheat here because we're not in Corf, although if we squinted we could maybe see west of Corf across here in the Clift Hills. Yeah. But tell us about your home Corf.
Oh, it's gorgeous. When we grew up in Corf, that was 1980, my folks had a flat above the vet in Lerwick, and houses were getting built in Corf, and in 1980 they moved to our house as it is now. The Scrayfield is the first hill here, and if you were to be on top of that hill you could see Corf and see like the edge of Scalloway and Burgh Isle, and so as the crow flies we're right beside it. In fact, you can see on the top of the hill those sort of old huts. That's the top of Scrayfield. So my house is just behind that. But it was a tiny place. I think there was like 15 children in the primary school, which is now closed, and the children go to Coningsborough School, which is just down the road. But a really small community, and it has grown, but it's grown quite sympathetically to the place. Yeah. And
Corf could, it would be in danger of feeling like a bit of a drive-through, but it doesn't. It feels like a village still. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it's just lovely. It's that whole thing of you just slip back into saying hello to your neighbours, and it's the same neighbours that were always there. It's really good. It's hard to beat, but I think everyone feels like that about where they're from and where their home is. And I think it would be really hard to feel for any work reason or lifestyle reason that you can't go back or there's no way to go back. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I think what everyone's just been through and is going through with this pandemic, you soon realise that perhaps it's okay to work anywhere and you can be anywhere, and the world doesn't stop turning. Everybody's open to new suggestions and
perhaps evaluating their lives and where they want to be.
Yeah, that's right. I think there was aspects of it that, as a family we had to figure out, but largely it was really special to be all home together, and my husband worked full-time from home the whole time, and I just continued teaching all my classes online, which was lovely and felt like a little lifeline for me, because it's an escapism in a way to sit and play and chat to folk and work on some new music. And it is work, yeah, but it's also what you're all about and part of
fulfilling.
Yeah, really fulfilling. And I started last May and teach about 60 students a week, and just thought, well, how's this going to go? I don't really know. And it's one of the best things I ever did.
That's a lot of students.
Yeah, it's a lot of students. Some folk are overseas and some folk are in Europe, mostly England and Scotland. I think that contact, whilst we were all at home and not moving around, it was lovely just to scatter in some human contact and adult company, and a lot of learners actually that feel quite anxious about joining a fiddle group where you're going to have to sit beside someone you don't know. Everybody's been there. It doesn't matter if it's a different context, but learning can be nerve-wracking. when you are immediately comparing yourself with other people. That's been a big realisation for people, that they can join in and the confidence grows, therefore.
But yeah, you still do need a session now and then to go and play at, don't you?
I know, we did some Blazing Fiddles videos recently where we do duos. Well, it's really duos as part of the live concert. So Anna Massey, she lives in Glasgow, so she was able to kind of go around the houses and when it was safe to, obviously, and meet up with everybody. And I didn't think I would be that, I thought, this will be great fun, but oh my goodness, it was thrilling to play that music again. It just makes you smile. I don't know how else to describe it. It just gives you such a boost. You're sitting with somebody else and playing music together, and it's just amazing. I'm not sure what the equivalent is in other art forms or other kind of walks of life. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really think of one. I think it is unique, that feeling it gives you. And I kind of get it for dancing. I really miss dancing, and particularly like dancing, like Shetland dancing.
Yeah,
there's nothing else makes you feel like that.
Yeah, I know. It must be the best exercise. But it's just thrilling, and like being in Quarf. There was a few years ago, Beth and I did a 3 years curating the Shetland Fiddle Frenzy kind of teaching festival, and one of the nights we finished up in the Quarf Hall, and it was packed to the gunnels. We'd ran out of chairs and folk were having to stand, and it was just brilliant. Such a brilliant atmosphere, and everybody can join in. There's no divisions. It was just excellent. And that's how it should be. Those halls, that's what they're built for. As kids, we would go to the Quarf Hall most weekends, and local musicians would play the accordion and double bass, and it was brilliant.
It tends to get confined to certain events and concerts now, or like Pellier and so on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it used to be a more like everyday occurrence.
Yeah, off the cuff, and just kind of for the smallest of occasion, a party or children's youth club party or whatever it was. It's almost the centre point of a community, the hall and everything that goes on in it. And it kind of it reminds you of when you go up to, like, for instance, the Fettler Hall to play, if it's a folk festival, or the hall committee are there and they're making fish and chips for everybody, and it tastes brilliant, and then you go on and do the gig. And
yeah, every musician I speak to, they'll talk about an island, going playing at a hall in an island like Fettler and Scary's Fair I'll Yell, and just be like, that was the best night.
That's it. I know, because it's the full experience, isn't it? You're setting off together in a bus. The whole community is going to come out because everybody makes such an effort to support these things, and then it's a great night of music and community, and you're there for the whole thing. You can't skip off to the lounge or do anything else. You're there and get the bus back with everybody else.
Music is part of everyday life, I think.
Yeah.
Much like we were saying about poetry, it used to be a lot more like a natural part of everyday life, that you would mark up a poem or something.
Yeah, that's
In fact, we do get some people who send in poems for Give Us a Tune, and we love them. It's great. People should do that more often.
Yeah, I know. Instead of, like you say, wait until it's perfect.
How do you find, speaking of wait until it's perfect, how's your writing process for writing music? Has it changed over the years, and do you find it easier now?
I find it easier. I guess technology helps a lot. It's easier to put down small ideas quickly rather than having to put pen to paper every time. You can just play something into the computer, layer tracks up and do it that way. It's difficult to get the time, or rather the quiet time. But then I just think maybe when life is busy, I've got 2 children under 5, so I think I work better like that. You just find the quiet moments and quickly note it down in whatever way, and then just keep building on it. When you get those little moments where something's coming together and it's clicking and it's moving quite fast, it's really exciting.
A buzz.
Yeah, and then you somehow the whole rest of the piece or the album or whatever just starts to build off the back of that.
Do you have a favourite tune that you've written?
I wrote a tune called Findhorn Bay. Well, it was I had written it. A friend of mine, that place had a really strong and special family connection, and it was for her sister she'd lost, and I had written the tune, and I don't know, I was aware that it was an anniversary of her sister's passing, and the tune came to me, and I just sent it to her, and I said, listen, this is you can have this and can be called whatever you think would suit. So things like that seem to pop up and they feel quite kind of special, I see, I guess. And so that's called Findhorn Bay. So that was maybe done in the last few months. I enjoyed writing the working hands music that I did. That felt like a big moment, achievement 2 or 3 years ago with a string quartet in Edinburgh. I'd had lessons from the violinist in that group, Robert McFall. He has a group called Mr. McFall's Chamber. So I was always in awe of them and their music, and my husband has played a lot with them, so I kind of knew them. Sat down to write an album that I would invite them to play with me, so I loved that process.
called Working Hands.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the kind of theme of it?
Just thinking about us as musicians and the tools of our trade, which is our hands, and how, you know, the strength and dexterity that comes from our hands and our fingers, and the same way that a carpenter or a painter would use their hands. I wrote pieces for some of the musicians involved. Yeah, that was the thinking behind it, bringing those ideas together to make a whole kind of suite. And
the theme tune of this programme is one of yours, or actually one of your mum's?
Yeah, Mum wrote that tune, the Quarflasses, for us to play in Filska many, many moons ago. It's kind of a slow, minor jig. I guess it's quite reflective in a way. But yeah, it's a good old tune now.
Yeah, no, it
30 years
really,
old, maybe.
It really grabbed me the first time I heard it. I have a terrible affliction of only liking things that are in a minor key.
Oh no, that's
I don't know why, but yeah, you're right. It's very reflective. And does that tune like make you think about Corf?
I guess so. Yeah. I haven't really thought of it before in that way, but I think it makes me think more about being really young and playing the fiddle, and I think sometimes it brings you back to the place that you played it in, the context, which was like a hall in Shetland, trying your best to play it really well. So it more so makes me think about staring down the fingerboard at my fingers and kind of remembering the times where I was playing it. But it's lovely. She's written quite a few tunes. Yeah, she's talented.
Well, yes, I agree. I think she is. Yeah, it's a lovely tune. You do have your fiddle with you.
Yeah, it's here.
And is there anything, like, if you were to choose a tune to play, are you wanting to play one like kind of Corf related or Scalloway related, or one of the Shetland bus ones? Or
yeah, I'll play one of Beth's tunes, one of the Shetland bus ones. It's called At the Summit, and I guess it's the part in the story where it's the most bleakest part, for the lowest point, I think, in the story, and the lowest point in the morale of him, perhaps. He gets left in a snow hole, cutting off his toes due to frostbite, and never knowing if anybody's coming back for him, because he had nothing but the clothes on his back, and, you know, relying on secret messages to get to and from people, to leave food packages, or to barely surviving.
I found it quite moving actually when at the end of the album Phil says this man was celebrated as a national hero all the time in Norway, and you kind of think, you know, you need a bit of redemption in that story, because it is so grim, but it's lovely to think that he's still minded.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it would be interesting to talk more to people in Norway about it. And wow,
Is the plane back for Fulla?
that's brilliant.
You always have to wave at Marshall or Quentin.
But yeah, I mean, goodness me, how on earth? It sounds made up, most of it, because it's so extreme. But Beth's tune At the Summit it's gorgeous, but it's dead simple. The best ones are always simple, aren't they? And I think when we were kind of reading up about it, thinking about music, it definitely starts to head you in a certain direction in terms of the tunes that you're going to play and write. You can't help but be affected by it. I might just sit round just in case the worst happens.
Then I slip the fiddle.
I go in.
So you're back home for a pretty bit this summer then?
Yeah, we're up for a month, which is a bit of a treat really. I would usually be down south playing festivals with blazing fiddles, and to have this amount of time is unheard of, but really lovely. So I feel like it's just, we had a couple of failed attempts to come up last year, obviously, with everything that's going on, with travel, and so we managed to move things around and come up in the summer, which is perfect. Yeah, just lovely. Proper time to stop, you know, and just...
Yeah.
I do love a look in all the shops in Lerwick. I think they're beautiful. And I know that everyone's talking about how the high streets need help and stuff, but I think there's such gorgeous shops in Lerwick. Ninian and Peary Shop, and...
There's a new one as well with crafts and stuff.
Oh, love it.
Puffin something.
Oh, and just sitting out and having a coffee, and but we just tend to fill the car and go to a beach and spend a few hours and have a swim maybe, and come home, have dinner, sit out. Ugh, it's just the easy simple things that are the best. And
You tend to be a soothing person when you get out.
usually, yeah. It's nice taking the kids to the places that we grew up, you know, just cutting about at the beach in Quarf and scampering over all the massive rocks there at the shore, and it's, you know, going back down there with them and collecting stones and shells, and it's really lovely, and they love it too. So trip down memory lane.
I just noticed we're going up Langcloss, and I always really enjoy this street sign. How many?
Do you have to include the brackets?
Yeah, so in brackets, formerly Spence's Closs, Burnet's Closs and Baker's Closs.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's
what happened there?
It's not very big. It's well named. I love these wee lanes and streets. It reminds me of Lerwick. We used to walk down from the high school and past the Lodberries, go into Slotties, fill your face, and
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
I used to go a bit further and go to the fort and get them. Sometimes they would give you like scraps,
Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
a bag of scraps.
Can you imagine walking back up to school with full of nutrition to do the rest of your day?
But how old were you when you left Shetland?
Nearly 18. Went down to Glasgow and started at the Royal Academy. Did my 4 years there and crossed off every day nearly
Okay.
of more or less. I took a bit of getting used to.
Not a city person, you were saying?
Well, not really, no. There was aspects of it that were brilliant, and when you're in your 20s that's loads of fun, stuff to do, but I stayed all over Glasgow in different flats and whatnot, but I love being away from the city, and don't get me wrong, it's really handy to be close to it, but it's lovely just to be in the quiet.
Ironically, Scalloway is actually quite loud
I
today.
know, it's busy.
Lots of cars. Yeah.
Really busy.
Fresh wind as well now. Yeah, I stayed here for a bit and I loved it, but it was too built up for me.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of movement. Everybody's doing.
I just like to be able to see the horizon all the time.
Yeah, I know, and be able to see the sea. Love that.
Yeah. Are you close to the sea then in the village that you live in?
Reasonably close, half an hour, and I'm at my sister's, and she's on the Ayrshire coast, which is brilliant. But yeah, we're close to short drive down to Gourock and places like that. The Ayrshire coast, and it's lovely.
Ailsa Craig.
Ailsa Craig, that's it.
Yeah. I used to bide in Stranraer. So
Did you?
yes. I
Wow.
was there for a year as
Golly.
a local paper reporter. And you only just came home like a couple of days ago, and how long was it since you'd been up?
It was a couple of years, I think. Yeah.
Did you come on the boat?
Yeah, we did, and it was beautiful. It
That
was
must have been a good feeling.
Yeah, it was so good. I haven't done that. You know, just for quickness, you're flying a lot, and if it's a concert, then that's what normally happens. But it was really lovely to get the boat. It was a beautiful night.
You get the sense of the distance that you're
Yeah.
actually travelling.
I know.
Folk are out enjoying the sun,
Wow.
little garden parties.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite bits of Scalloway, going up this road. Hull Road.
It's lovely.
Yes. Especially when it's all green and leafy like this.
Yeah, it is beautiful. There are more and more trees, aren't there? It just looks gorgeous, especially in Gilberwick when you drive past more and more houses are getting more privacy and shade, and it's lovely.
Uh-huh. We were saying that there wasn't a panel about Norway House, but
never
there
spotted
is.
him.
There is. It's just on the other side of the road.
Brilliant.
That looks quite new as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. It does look brand new.
After the war, Norway House became a garage for repair and servicing of motor vehicles. In more recent years, it has served as a popular gymnasium. It's fantastically proper. Oh, I like there's a picture of it.
Yeah, it looks brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's been so well kept.
Mm-hmm.
The building soon acquired its name Norway House. Additional accommodation was provided by Nissen huts behind the building. Wow.
The site was originally a herring kippering kiln.
Wow. Imagine how bustling it would be.
I was just thinking that.
Like the busyness and the people and hours and hours of work, day in, day out.
That's it for this episode of The Lie of the Land. Thanks to Jenna Reid for taking me through Scalloway and delving into the things that shaped her as a musician. The Filska tune that we mentioned, written by Jenna's mum Joyce for the band, which features at the start of each of these episodes, is called The Corf Lasses, and I'll leave you with one from that same album, written by Jenna herself, The West Shores of Corf. Thanks for listening.
FM,
your smart speaker,
and BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Scotland.